Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of the CW's The Vampire Diaries. This week we've seen Season 7, Episode 21, which is called Requiem, or Requiem, I always get confused on how to pronounce that, for a dream. I know this review's late, as always. I had to work on Friday, which really sucked again. But it did go on demand late last night, so I did watch it around 1 in the morning to 2. But overall, this is actually a pretty good episode, I want to say. I definitely enjoyed this more than last week's episode, and maybe that's just because I'm in a better mindset about it today. Maybe that's a combination, but I also thought this was legitimately a really good episode and probably one of the best of the season. What really drove this episode, though, was, of course, Bonnie, and particularly her conflict with Damon, and how that was tied into, her sort of taking on that huntress mentality, with Raina passing on herself to Bonnie. That was definitely the highlight of the episode, and we'll talk more about the specific climactic scene a little bit later in the review. But I took my notes as usual. Yeah, look at that stuff. So Bonnie wakes up, and we see this little dream sequence at first. She wakes up, and then I think she snaps onto his neck or something like that, and then we actually get to see her decapitate Caroline, which is pretty awesome. I've never been a big fan of Caroline, and I really think she'd be dead right now if it wasn't just for the writers wanting to keep her on the show for some reason. Realistically, in this type of, if this was actually happening, Caroline would be dead at this point, let's just face it. So in a way, and I've always just been kind of irritated by her, similar to how I've been irritated by Davina on the originals sometimes. Even though she has developed reasonably, but still, it was somewhat satisfying for me to see Bonnie decapitate her, even if it wasn't real, which disappointed me. I cheered when she got decapitated, and I was like, oh, and it was a dream thing. It would have been nice if there would have been one actual death that came from Bonnie's rampage or something. That would have made it feel all the more real. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd want that weight on Bonnie's shoulders. She already carries around so much already. But, so it's kind of a, which do you want to choose? And of course, Caroline and Alaric are debating who should stay around to help and who should go to take care of the kids. Caroline ends up getting Alaric to, go take care of the kids. He should be the one they see when they wake up. But I think Alaric had a better point, as to who should be around when Bonnie wakes up. Sure, Caroline's just sort of, not blindly, but kind of committing, I'm one of her best friends, so Bonnie should see me. But Alaric had the point that he's still human at this point, so, maybe it'd be a good idea that someone who's standing around isn't someone Bonnie would want to kill right away, I think that's a fair point as well. Let's see. And Stefan, he's sort of drinking around at a bar, and Damon calls him, but Stefan actually does come up with the idea to sort of go into Bonnie's subconscious, sort of that dream thing we've seen him use before, to try and convince her before she wakes up, to sort of poke at that part of her mind that's still fighting it. Even Raina said there was a part of her that didn't want to go after and kill Stefan, because she could basically sense the humanity with him. So I think to reach out to that part in Bonnie, which might even be stronger than it was with Raina. We see Caroline go into Bonnie's head, to try and show her, basically half and half, show her what the vampires can be, but then show her what she is, basically focus on who they are, not what they are. And it appears to work at first, but then eventually the huntress side of Bonnie ends up taking over a little bit more, and she tries to attack Caroline. Let's see. Then we get Stefan and Caroline sort of arguing over, how Stefan initially left again, how she loved him so much and she wanted to be there to face it with him, make the decision with him, not, have him put it all on him and then go off on his own. And she also mentions how she is looking out for, how she was looking for help when he was gone. She even reached out to Klaus, who's apparently nowhere to be found. And of course, obviously I follow the originals, but on the originals we still don't know why Klaus is nowhere to be found. We have a couple episodes left of that now, so I'm curious to see how season 3 is going to end. But anyway, back on topic. And so of course ends up trying to get through to Bonnie in her dream. And of course he puts her in her cheerleader uniform, which Bonnie comments on. How she's still in her cheerleader uniform no matter what they're talking about together in it. Shows her her old high school, of course. It's kind of nice to see that type of environment again, as a fan of the show, because they spent a lot of years there. And so of course as the guitar thing, and he does get pretty close to her. She is pretty happy to see him, but then of course the huntress takes over again and whacks him with the guitar, and is about to stake him. And then they finally get the idea that Bonnie might not want to wake up at all. Even the part of her that's still good and level-headed. Basically, she might be just deciding that, let me just fade away. I don't want to wake up and try and kill people I care about. And then Caroline's still arguing with Stefan, how she basically says she deserves the same amount of respect of her choice as Elena did. She talks back to when Stefan, saved man instead of Elena, because Elena, got him to, because she told him to do that. And at first I just thought, Caroline said I deserve the same respect as Elena got, and I'm like, no, you don't. But really, she has a point there. If Stefan's gonna be with her like that, he should respect her choice the same way he did Elena, if not more. But I still feel like no matter what happens with Stefan and Caroline, I think there's always gonna be a part of Stefan that always holds Elena up a little bit higher. Then we got kind of a funny bonding moment between Damon and Stefan over the phone. Damon saying he screws up and you were the cape, which I thought was kind of a funny line. And Damon talks about how sometimes you have to go to those extremes. That's been a point to Damon for almost the entire series. Even when he started to care a little bit more, he was always saying he'd do whatever it takes to keep Elena safe, and this is kind of the same thing now, with what's going on with Bonnie. Saying he'll go to certain extremes, if she hates him forever, even if she doesn't like it, as long as she's alive, in the end, he'll keep her alive. And I kind of like that tie back and stuff. How many times do I say and stuff in my videos? I don't know. Damon ends up trying to go into Bonnie's head, takes her to Elena's house, which was burned down, a few seasons ago now. It was still kind of cool to see the house again, like the high school. That's something we've seen for, a good amount of seasons on the show, and we even seen Elena's silhouette in the dream sequence in the window. And I knew it wasn't going to show or anything. I knew Nina Dobrev wouldn't be there just for that. But just to see Bonnie's sort of sense of hope or excitement at first was, really touching in a way. But of course, Bonnie quickly realizes what it is, and this turns out to be more of a ploy on the part of Damon to sort of forcibly wake her up, sort of tying into do whatever it takes to keep her alive. If she doesn't like it, she obviously doesn't want to wake up, but Damon wants her to wake up and stay alive no matter what she is. So Damon sort of pushes her to wake up, piss off the huntress part of herself and, Bonnie herself. I kind of like this psychology of that with Damon coming through again, like I talked about. Stefan and Caroline reach more of an understanding. I don't remember all the lines from it, but it sounds like they reach more of a middle ground. It still sounds like there's hope for, Steroline or whatever you want to call it. Bonnie ends up calling Caroline to warn her. She's about ready to head off and go after Caroline because I forgot to tell you, I think it was Caroline and Damon and Enzo that were marked earlier in the episode. I forget. Matt actually ends up trying to help Bonnie, which I kind of liked at first. Finally a good moment from Sheriff Donovan, I guess now. But then he agrees to set up a perimeter, to try and kill Damon with her, and that annoyed me quite a bit. But Matt sort of turns it around at the end. I almost forgot I wrote another page to this. And then we get the best part of the episode, the confrontation between Bonnie and Damon. Damon sort of comments on her hunter cosplay, the best to look for yet and stuff. And yeah, Bonnie does look good, with a shotgun type thing and the homemade steak she carved. It looks pretty badass, Cat Graham, it really works. Let's see. And this whole thing was really intense. It had lightning, thunder or lightning or whatever, and it was in the forest. It was dark. I don't know. I just like the mood of it all, And I thought Ian Somerhalder and Cat Graham both did a really good job in the scene to follow, especially when it gets a little bit more emotional. Talk more about that in a minute, though. Alaric, once he finds out about Caroline being marked, tells her to keep moving. He's sort of more agreeable to this than I thought he'd be, with going off with Stefan, but he understands the situation, and, it kind of ties back to what Alaric was saying earlier, he wants her to find that closure, he wants her to find what she really wants, in a way, no matter what he feels. Let's see. Damon ends up leading Bonnie to the stump where they had that little funeral for her in the forest. I think that was at the beginning of season 5. I think it was episode 3 or so. But it was at least in the early part of season 5 where they were all saying their goodbyes to Bonnie. Which is, again, a nice little tie back. And then, we get a little bit of a fight between them. Damon doesn't really try to go after her so much, but it was still pretty intense. Bonnie ends up putting him down with a stake, and then Damon, Ian Somerhalder, this is probably one of the best scenes I've seen from him in a while, probably one of my favorite scenes from him acting-wise. He talks about how he envies and admires Bonnie, and he talks about how he loves her the same way Elena did. And then he says, I did this to us, the issues between them, with him not saying goodbye when he went to the coffin. Which is really emotional, intense stuff, and I really liked how both actors portrayed it here. And I wrote something else about Stefan and Caroline here, but I don't really remember what it was. I'm sure we'll see more of it in the finale. And Matt actually ends up coming from behind Bonnie and knocking her out with a few darts, which, I was kind of happy about. I'll give it to Sheriff Donovan here, but he ends up screwing it up later, of course. Bonnie ends up knocking out Matt and, driving, trying to drive back in the car. So, good job, Sheriff Donovan. I can't trust him with anything. Although, Huntress Bonnie's pretty badass, so I guess I can't bash him too much this time. And then Enzo comes back to Damon saying he may have a plan. It looks like it might be tied to the armory and the evil that was within there. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the episode. Actually this is a pretty good one that I enjoyed quite a bit, especially the Damon Bonnie stuff. I thought was really well handled, writing and acting wise. And it looks like the finale next week should be pretty good. Can't believe there's just one episode left. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the episode. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and lookforInspoiled.com. I will be doing my video on the originals a little bit later today, and also expect my final season review of Nikita at some point this weekend as well, maybe late tonight, I'm not sure. As well as my usual Game of Thrones and Pain Dreadful reviews tomorrow night. So I'll catch you guys for that, and peace.